Okay, today's daf is Yoma Tedvav, Yoma 15. The Mishnah on Yudal and Aleph, 14, says, Kol Shavasiyam Muzorek Sadam Umaktir Ketores Umetiv Aneros. All 7 preparatory days for the Kohen Gadol before Yom Kippur, what he would do first, he was maktir the Ketores, he would bring the Ketores, and then after he was done maktir the Ketores, he'd be metiv the Neros. Then he would clean out the Neros from last night's hadlaka and prepare them for the hadlaka's Neros that happened right before Shkia at the end of Yom Kippur. So the Gemara on Yudal Amud Beis, the Gemara starts talking about problems with this Mishnah, seemingly because other places seem to indicate, other Mishnayos and Talmud and Yoma itself seem to indicate that instead of doing the Ketores first, they would actually clean out the Neros first. It comes out of the Sugya that there's 2 shitas, there's 2 answers to answer all these questions. Abaye and Rav Papa. Abaye says what he says on Yudal Amud Beis towards the bottom. About 8 lines, 9 lines from the bottom. Abaye lo kasha kan ba'tavas shtei neros, kan ba'tavas chamesh neros. He says places where it says that the cleaning of the Neros was first, that was talking about cleaning 5 Neros in the morning. Then he would stop, according to one Tan, according to the Rabbanon, he would stop and he would light the Ketores, and then he would clean out the other 2 Neros and prepare them for the Hadlaka at night. That's Abaye's basic answer. Rav Papa answers a different answer on Tedvav and Aleph. Rav Papa answers about 10, 12 lines down. Rav Papa Amar Lo Kasha Rabbanan HaBashol. He says one opinion is Rabbanan and one opinion is Abashol. The Rabbanan, the Mishnah, this Mishnah in Yudal and Aleph is the Rabbanan. Would say that Ketores happens before cleaning out the Neros. Abashol would argue, would say the opposite. There's no distinction between 5 and 2 Neros. Now the Gemara goes back and forth and asks why Abai doesn't want to say that Rav Papa, because Abai doesn't want to say that Rav Papa because it would come out that this Mishnah on Yudal, it would be like the Rabbanan. A Mishnah on Chav Hey and Yoma would be like Abashal, and then another Mishnah on Lamed Aleph, Amud Beis, would be like the Rabbanan. It was hard to say that the Gemara wouldn't learn all the Mishnayos like the same Tana. And the Gemara says, why doesn't Rav Papa say like Abaye? In the middle of Tedvav and Al, Rav Papa Amoita Amar Lacham Abaye. Amar Chatan Reisha Hatava Shtei Neros V'Hadar Tavas Chamesh Neros. He doesn't say like him because it would come out that this Mishnah Yadal, the first Mishnah, would be talking about where it says the Ketores comes first. We're talking about the last 2 Neros, the cleaning of the last 2 Neros, which happened after the Ketores, and then the Mishnah on Chav Hey will be talking about where the opposite, where the cleaning of the Neros was the first thing, and Yadal was the second thing, and on Chav Hey, will be backwards, will be the first thing. It'll be the 5 Neros, cleaning out, which happened before the Ketores. So then Abaye answers, Abaye Amal Chav, what would Abaye say to that? Orui ba'amahu dekamori v'sidra ha'adir tanile. It's not clear exactly what he's saying. He's saying that basically the Mishnah was teaching something, and then it went back and taught the proper order. Now, a couple of questions on this Gemara over here. First of all, our Mishnah was talking about Yom Kippur, preparing for Yom Kippur and Yom Kippur itself. How do you know that what happened in Yom Kippur was the same as the rest of the year? Secondly, the Gemara on Tedvav and Aleph brings a brisa, which proves that when you lit the Neros, that had to be the last thing you did. You makti the Ketores shel ben arbayim, and then you lit the Neros before Shkia. Why? The brisa says, "Vatani me'ervad boker ein lecha avoda sheksher me'ervad boker el zu balvad." Basically, that the Neros had to be the last thing you did, the last avoda you did, and it would run the whole night. The Ketores shel ben arbayim happened before that. So if it says Me'erev ad Boker, presumably we would understand it to mean that just like at night, it had to be the last avoda. In the morning, it should be the first avoda. And the hatava such neiros, which is the end of the neiros, cleaning them out, should be before the Ketores. So how could we argue on that? The Mishnah says, our Mishnah in Yadal says the Ketores happened first. And so, third of all, we could ask really, what is the svara? What's the machlokes of Rav Papa and Abaye? In order to answer all these questions, I want to suggest, when Abaye says at the end, Abaye Amar Lecha, Rabbi would say to you, Orui ba'amu dekamori v'sidra hader tani le. That Rashi learns, Abaye Amar Lech, he's saying, Hai de parakam v'detani kol shulas yom muzorik lav yom kippurim kai. He's saying, this Mishnah was not talking about Yom Kippur on your Daled and Aleph. I want to answer that exactly the opposite, that Abaye was saying that the Mishnah on Yudal and Aleph is talking about Yom Kippur. That normally, like we learn, like the Brisa says, Me'erev ad Boker, that the mitzvah of Halakas Neros was the last thing you did at night, and the first thing you do in the morning. The conclusion of Tavos and Neros in the morning was the conclusion of the Halakha at night, and that always preceded the Ketores. Even in the morning, the Hatavos Neros preceded the Ketores. On Yom Kippur, it was different because Yom Kippur, the whole mitzvah of Yom Kippur was during the day. It's a unique avoda that normally in halakha the day starts with the night, but Yom Kippur used to keep him up awake the whole night, and basically the avodas hayom started in the morning. So that's the Mishnah on Yudal is basically saying that in Yom Kippur you start with the Ketores, and then you start and then you do the Hatavos HaNeiros. Even though normally the Hatavos HaNeiros should come first, because we pass like Abaye over Rav Papa, and Abaye, that's a machlokes to Abaye and Rav Papa. Abaye would hold that the Hatavos HaNeiros is the conclusion of the mitzvah hadlaka at night, and therefore Erev ad Boker is one continuous thing. You light, the last thing you do is light at night, and the first thing you do is Hatava in the morning. And Rav Papa argues that Hatavos HaNeiros is a preparatory thing for lighting at night. It's not the conclusion of the lighting from the previous night. And therefore Abaye would say normally on Yom Kippur it's a new mitzvah Yom, mitzvah starts, you do the Ketores first. It's different than the rest of the year. Because we separated it from the hadlaka of the previous night. But during the rest of the year, so Hatavos HaNeiros comes first. Because it concludes the hadlaka of the previous night. And when Abaye says that the difference between the 5 neiros you do first, you clean out, and then 2 neiros later, that's talking about the rest of the year. And that's the Mishnah on Chaf Hey, which is talking about the rest of the year. And there, you do the Hatavos over the neiros before you burn the Ketores. The Mishnah on Lamed Aleph and Beis, that's talking already about Yom Kippur, and therefore the Ketores would come first, just like it says on the Mishnah on Yadalid, and that's what Abaye means, V'sidra hadar tanila.